We borrow inspiration from many places, and as we shape our own vision of turning Flock into a botanical wonderland of sorts, one of the places that was on our short list to see is Juniper Level Botanical Garden in North Carolina, run by Tony Avent. The gardens were an offshoot of Tony's love for plants and his mail-order business, Plant Delights Nursery, which has over 27,000 taxa of unique and wonderful species and hybrids that are made available to people worldwide. We tour the nursery on our sister channel, Plant One On Me, but in this episode, we see how Tony has shaped a former tobacco farm into a 28-acre botanical oasis. You started the nursery, and I'm assuming that you started just planting this stuff in the ground. But how did Juniper Level Botanic Gardens come about?
Well, we wanted to not just sell plants, we wanted to grow plants and learn plants and allow people to come see what the plants look like at maturity. And that's what's really the missing piece in most nurseries is people can't come in and see, here's what the plant looks like. And we wanted to create that. So we started with this 2-acre piece where we're standing now, and then systematically scared all our neighbors off over a period of years till we got up to 28 acres.
So then you were basically planting it in the landscape, but you have design sensibility, like it has a point of view here.
Well, I remember back to one of my days in college, a landscape design professor said, if you have more than 12 different plants in your garden, it's gonna look weedy and junky, so limit yourself to 12 plants.
I'm glad you just pushed that out your head.
That just bugs the heck out of me.
Yeah.
So we said, let's show people how you can take a collection and make it look aesthetic.
Yeah.
And because people don't have a frame of reference for making that work, it's all in large drifts. The books you read, large drifts.
Yeah.
And we're like, we landscape in drifts of one.
I really appreciate that you saying that, because the drift thing is very popular right now, and you have people like Pia Oldhoff, and it is very visually beautiful, I have to admit. I have a pollinator garden. It's maybe about this size, and I have over 360 different types of plants.
Awesome.
And it looks so beautiful, but you could get like similar seed heads and umbellifera flowers and like lacy stuff, so it doesn't look chaotic, and you could work with the colorway and the pattern and the texture. But the funny thing is like, I want to know all the different palettes of plants that I have to work with. It's like, I don't want to be limited with my paint palette. I want to expand my paint palette so that I know that I could pick and choose different plants and know which ones will look good together and as a whole.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about, biodiversity. It's about diversity of plants, diversity of pollinators, diversity of people. That's what makes society richer, is diversity, not uniformity. And so we're sort of the anti-conformist.
So this is where it started. I mean, how old are some of these trees? We have a Cercis canadensis here. What is this one?
This is a crepe myrtle. This is Lagostreamia.
You can't plant these in zone 5.
You cannot plant this in zone 5.
I love the bark.
We grew this from seed. That's 1989. The little seedling was planted there.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't that incredible? That's
It's
just
insane.
It's one of the best shade trees for us. People typically think of the hybridized crepe myrtles is something shorter. This is actually the true species. So it is this beautiful, just magnificent tree.
I mean, it's very sinewy.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
I mean, to see that kind of like muscular nature of the tree itself, it's really a sight to behold.
Yeah, I think so. I love that. And so so this was all in tobacco. So there was no trees here.
Wow.
So everything was flat. So we built the beds up. All the beds in the garden are 50% native soil, 50% compost. We've not used any chemical fertilizers in the grounds in 38 years.
And now it's so funny because you have the trillium right here.
Yes.
And then you have, is that some bloodroot coming up?
That's bloodroot.
Bloodroot and epimediums, and then hellebores.
Yep.
And then, I mean, you could keep on probably adding on. I mean, these are cyclamens?
These are acerums, or wild gingers.
Oh, acerums. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
And they have really neat flowers.
Yeah.
Let's see if this one's flowering.
They're usually on the bottom.
Right there.
Yeah.
There's the flowers.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
Primarily pollinated by roly-polies or sow bugs.
Yeah, the sow bugs or pill bugs or
so
whatever
you can,
they are.
so you can sit here and watch them crawl from one flower into the next, pollinating.
Yeah.
So, pollinators care about diversity. They don't care about ethnic origin.
Like, that's where I'm curious if some of our specialist pollinators actually could pollinate some of the ones maybe from China or whatnot.
Absolutely,
too.
they do. We watch it all the time. We've
Yeah.
got an entomologist on staff, and he can go in and rattle off the pollinators and what does this. And the trilliums, you might find 5 species that are pollinated by the same type of fly. And then the other 5 are pollinated by a different type of pollinator. So it's really fascinating because we do study the pollinators as much as we study the plants.
Yeah. Now, is this like a Solomon seal or what is
this?
this?
This is Solomon seal. That's just emerging now.
And will this get large or is it a kind of a smaller
This
version?
is biflorum, so this will get up about 2 feet tall.
Yeah, very nice. So this is obviously kind of like your shade stroll.
It is, this is, again, it all started out full sun. We just planted a lot of trees. This became shade, so that's why we kept buying new land and trying to limit our tree planting, which we haven't had much luck with.
They do get bigger after a while.
They do. One of the things that's really interesting is one of our experiments. These are called tongue ferns. This is the genus Pyrosia. These baskets have been out now for 4 years. 11 degrees. They don't even have to go inside. So you've got a fern basket that you can leave out most of the year as opposed to it's going to frost, I got to rush in, pick up my ferns.
Oh, look at lingua like a tongue.
Lingua like a tongue.
And where is this Pyrosia from?
This is an Asian species that occurs in China, Japan, and into Korea. And the Japanese have made all these crazy selections, like with super ruffled leaves, wider leaves, variegated leaves.
Yeah, when I think of like great plants people, I think Japan, Thailand, there's some really good ones.
Phenomenal, phenomenal people. Yes, they've been gardening for many years over there.
Yeah, and it's like really built into their cosmology. Okay, here's another one we can't. Is this an aspidistra?
It is.
It's like, these are another ones that like I always ogle at the fact that you could actually grow these outdoors.
Oh yeah. Now, not all of them. Now, what's interesting, when we started collecting aspidistras, there were 16 species.
Yeah.
Today, there is over 220.
Holy mother,
so
that's
over
crazy.
200 new species since 1980.
And it's a very popular, it was like a Victorian plant, like one of those like plants back in the Victorian
Absolutely.
era,
No,
and then this is, we're probably going to see this in a few weeks, but this is our
foam flower.
Foam flower. But there's a lot of great cultivars of this as well.
They're fantastic.
Yeah.
The breeders have worked to make it have more flowers. We hear people say, well, the pollinators won't go to cultivars. That simply isn't true.
Yeah.
Many of the cultivars, which have more flowers, are actually better for the pollinators than the wild species.
A taller stem. Sometimes the taller stem, will attract more pollinators.
Sure.
I think the challenge is when you get into like double flowers or something, and then it may not have a pollen resource if you have too many flowers and no.
Absolutely, but that's easy for people to look at and say, oh, that doesn't have any pollen.
Exactly.
Yes, if your goal is strictly pollinators, yes, that's not a plant you would want.
Yeah.
But if you're thinking of it in terms of the double, maybe something the human likes, and that will bring the human out into the garden more, so they will do more things in the garden, then it has an indirect benefit on pollinators.
I think we hit a really good time for your trilliums.
Oh, you did. They're amazing. And
then,
another interesting plant is the jack in the pulpits.
Yes, look at these.
You can see the flowers in here.
Yeah.
The giant cobra head lily. Yeah. It's very interesting, and many of these will have long tongues to give the insect a way to get in, but it's also that they will go in there and have sex with the plant.
Okay, I see. And then they kind of go out, but after a while.
Well, some of them trap the insects in there for the entire day, and at the end of the day, they will open up a little flap at the bottom that allows them to leave and go to a new one. So it's really a fascinating group of plants, the aeroids. And obviously people know many of the inside stuff, the philodendrons, the spathiphyllums, the anthuriums.
Indeed,
first cousins. So yeah, really, really lovely plants.
And then look at this, I just want to point out this epimedium. Look at the coloration on that leaf.
Yeah, isn't that incredible?
The modeling.
Now, epimediums are not just popular for the gardens, but they're used medicinally. People don't realize in China, the common name for epimedium is horny goatweed. Because a farmer, true story, noticed the goats in one part of his pasture were becoming particularly amorous. And they did the analysis, and they found that it greatly increases the blood flow in the male extremities.
Wow. I mean,
So this is the active ingredient in several of the male enhancement products. It is nothing but epimedium leaves.
that is so crazy.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard of horny goatweed, but I never really put two and two together. And then obviously, if you don't really grow up with the plant as part of like the medicinal plant within your materia medica or your
Yes.
repertoire,
Yeah.
then you wouldn't really know those kind of colloquial stories.
No, but it's great that
It's
something.
the little blue pill right
Yes,
there.
right, exactly. I tell people, you want to get your significant other interested in gardening, take them out and have a picnic by the epimedium.
Yeah, just slip it in the
Slip
salad.
it in there. There you go.
This is fun. Look at this.
This
It looks
is
like an Asteraceae, but
this
I don't
is
think
first
so.
cousin to Trilliums.
Really?
This is the genus Paris.
It almost looks like a cross between one of our world star flowers mixed with a passion flower mixed with like an Asteraceae.
Isn't it crazy?
It's
It is.
nuts.
It
Yeah.
is. No, this is. Some people for years tried to put them in the genus Trillium, but now they're their own genus Paris, or some people now want to put them in a new genus, Dezois. But again, it's the relationship is there, but pretty incredible. This species is Paris chinensis from Taiwan.
Now, is this the flower? Is this the flower, or
This is the flower.
Okay,
This
so
is-
that's what
this
the
is the
flower
pollen.
exactly looks like.
And this is the stigmas. So,
Yeah.
so if we want to pollinate that, we would come in and let's say the pollen's not quite ready.
Yeah.
But when it is, we would just take one of these
Yeah.
and just dust it on here,
Yeah.
and then we would get seed.
Yeah.
And the seed burst open in late summer. Beautiful red berries.
Right.
It's an incredible
So
plant.
it seems like, do you come in here and like weed? Because it feels like some of these could spread a little bit more if they wanted to.
No, we're pretty particular about putting plants in the right locations
Okay.
and not using things that are going to take over the garden.
Okay.
You know, maintenance is 80% of the garden. So we don't want to offer things that are going to take over. There are many things that other nurseries sell because they propagate easy,
Yeah.
which means they can become weedy in the garden.
Right.
And those are just not our thing.
Yeah.
So we do have a staff that's constantly in here making sure that the weeds are at bay.
And is this like a mayapple of sorts?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll see a lot of mayaples we go through today. These are the Asian mayaples. So unlike our native mayapple that takes over, the Asian ones are much better behaved and they don't go dormant in May like the native ones. So they're actually much better. And the neat thing, we've been able to cross the Asian ones and the native ones together. So we got some really interesting plants.
You know, I would imagine like you're trying to cross and like you maybe don't know about the chromosomes of one or the other, but then
Yeah.
you find like that doesn't work. You know, I know there are some people who are breeding anthuriums and they found that like the South American ones are just not breeding with like the ones on a different continent, but then
Yeah,
there's others that do, and then you probably do some research and you're like, oh, the same chromosomes, you know, or
well,
whatever it is.
you know, we like to try things on our own. We don't like
Yeah.
to take somebody else's preconceived notions because we find a lot of plants do the complete opposite of what science says they should do. And it's because we never let our plants read scientific journals.
Keep them uneducated.
Absolutely. Keep them on the farm.
only become smarter that way.
Yeah. These are little,
Wow.
these are trout lilies.
Yeah, I was gonna say, this looks like the little trout lilies
Yeah,
that we
see,
would have,
just
except
getting ready
these
to
are,
bloom.
oh yeah, these are very glaucous.
Yeah,
you
this
know?
is a beautiful silveriform that was found by one of our customers at in Tennessee. It
So
normally
this is
has.
a North American one.
Oh yes, absolutely. Isn't that
wow.
beautiful?
It's stunning.
Yes. Yeah. Typically they have model leaves, which are really cool. But as a plant person, we like the plants that are out from the bell curve. We're not interested in normal. We're interested in the abnormal form. So
Yeah.
if they're supposed to do this, we want the taller one, the shorter one, the silverleaf one, the oddballs.
I should have never come because my plant list is going through the roof right now. Look at these. These are beautiful. These are like little scillas.
These are scillas,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I have not planted these because I don't know if they're going to be a little too pushy. You know,
They
yeah.
can seed around your garden. So
Yeah.
yes, so not something we offer them. We have to be sure we keep them deadheaded. If
Yeah.
not, they would absolutely
They
take
go
over the garden.
Yeah, and these are little phloxes.
They are. This is our native phlox. This is Phlox stolonifera,
Yep. Look
just
at that.
coming into bloom. This
These
was
are
a
lovely.
collection we made up in the mountains of North Carolina. So it comes in many different colors. We've added a lot of water to the garden. For us, water is
Yeah.
sort of life in the garden. That's what brings wildlife in. It what create habitat for plants and animals.
And it just creates a beautiful sound.
It does.
Some of your irises right here.
Absolutely. This
Yeah.
is the Iris japonica.
It's almost like it looks fringed a little around the edge, you know.
Very
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
It's a lovely plant, and it's the earliest of the spring iris. You have winter iris that are just finishing up, and this is the first of the spring iris.
And camellias.
Yes, which would not be winter hardy up in zone 5.
No, unfortunately not.
But they're quite stunning down here.
Is this a japonica?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah, japonicas are typically the prime spring blooming species that we see in gardens.
And then these are corydalus?
Corydalus, yep. Or in the south, corydalis.
Corydalus, yeah. I know, I'm like, do you say cyclamen or cyclamen? Like,
Yeah, depending on where you are.
yeah.
So here's another of the mayaples, to give you an
Nice.
idea of how big they
They're
get.
huge. It's almost like a rhubarb leaf, you know?
Exactly, yes,
Yeah.
which we can't grow, but this
Yeah.
is sort of redneck rhubarb.
Right. Ah, this is lovely. How'd you get these big are these casted stone or?
This is concrete we mixed up here
Yeah.
in the driveway, and when we moved into this house, we had just moved down here and didn't realize that nobody in this part of the county knew what mufflers were, and so we had trouble sleeping at night. So we built this like an amphitheater to project the water sound into the bedroom, and
Right.
it was great. It drowned out all the road noise.
Yeah, that's so good. No one down here knew what mufflers were. That was so good. And then some more of the gingers. that you have
Gingers,
here.
and now
Yeah.
this is also an aspidistra.
No, it looks like a mondo grass or something.
Doesn't
you know?
it? That is one of those new species of
Yeah.
aspidistra that you look at it and you think, really? That
No
doesn't
way.
look like what we knew, but
Yeah,
it is.
That's crazy. I mean, I
This
guess
is this is one of the gingers. See the bloom?
Oh yeah, look at that one. These are fun.
Oh, these are so cool. This
Yeah.
is the panda face
Yeah, I was
ginger.
gonna say that this is a panda one.
Yeah. And one of our staff made that. We like to let the staff be creative, and gardening is about fun. I think
Yeah.
people take gardening way too seriously. And we're serious about it, we're just not serious how we do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd imagine that after the trees get so large, you're just constantly giving yourself some
Yeah.
shade gardens.
Here's
This
some
is
more.
a stunning one with the variegation on the
Yeah.
leaves around the central
Isn't that
veining.
beautiful?
Are these Nandinas or what are these?
These are mahonias.
Mahonias. Okay, that's like we
and-
have some Pacific Northwest varieties, but we also have some from Asia.
Yes, so most of what everybody's grown is Mahonia media or Mahonia belii. And about 20 years ago, all these new species started coming in from China, very different, and they look more like Nandinas than they do Mahonias.
Yeah.
So we actually have a whole breeding program, which we won't have time to show you today, but we're trying to create some pretty neat, unusual stuff. But look at the trillium colors. They're just, it's just such an amazing plant.
And it's the ants that carry the...
Ants and wasps.
Wasps,
Because the seed are covered with sugars.
Right.
And it's called elaiosomes. And so we harvest, and they have to be planted fresh. So we actually bring the pots out in the garden, take the seed, and they're in the ground within seconds.
Yeah.
Because if not, the wasp will swoop in and start carrying the seed away just as fast as you gather them.
Yeah.
Nature has got such an incredible system.
Look at the columbine here, too.
Yep, columbine already starting. That's our native canadensis.
It's nice. You're giving us just like a little peek into what we're going to probably have in like 4 more
goodness. Yes, absolutely. This is our garden staff. Doug, our garden curator, is leading the seed collection effort.
Yeah,
and
look
so
at you.
So a lot of things that we grow, we have to get our own seed, and we do that out of the garden.
I mean, you have to be walking here every day and just kind of poking around and seeing what's...
So he's teaching Sophie. Sophie's going to be our new seed collector.
Hello.
So she just started Monday, so she's learning the ropes of how we collect seed.
Fantastic.
Yeah. All right, so let's...
Look at this, too. I mean, this is...
Isn't that cool?
You wouldn't expect it. It kind of has a cycaddy kind of leaf. Is this like a type of yew? Like, what is this?
This is a false yew.
A false yew,
So yew is the genus Taxus. This is a Cephalotaxus.
Okay.
And the difference is deer don't eat Cephalotaxus, and they eat Taxus.
Ah.
So other than that, it looks pretty darn similar.
Yeah. Is this hardy to our zone?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah, absolutely.
I'm trying to think of which ones we could put outside of the fence.
There you go. Yeah, yeah. So all of this was built. This is all we constructed because, again, we want water. Anywhere you can add water.
Oh, this is beautiful.
It's
it seems
better.
very naturalistic. And...
Yeah, that's what we want. A friend of mine, retired electrician, 40 years ago, told me, the way you know when you've done something well is when you make it look so easy, anybody thinks they could do it.
Yeah.
And that's what we want to do with the garden. We want to make it so people think, yeah, I could do that. And then they jump in there and give it a shot.
Yeah. Look at these May apples. They almost look like begonia leaves.
Isn't that crazy?
Because they're so asymmetrical.
Yeah, here's some just coming up.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
This is Podophyllum deformis, the deformed May apple.
Deformed May apple. Okay, that makes sense.
And I love the leaf.
Yeah, it almost seems like frog skin.
It's very odd.
See,
really
these are
is.
hostas right now, right?
Yeah, first ones are up. That's way too early.
And when they come really early, even earlier than this, you could actually collect them and eat them. They're like a delicacy in Japan.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, similar to an asparagus, but I guess you said they're in the Asparagaceae family.
They are now. Yeah. This is really lovely. This is our native mayapple,
Yeah.
but you see, that one just runs everywhere.
Yeah, so this is the native mayapple right here. So we have this growing in our woods.
Yeah.
This is a sweet shrub? Or what is this?
No, this is anise.
Anise.
Yeah, this is one of the, this is the Mexican anise, Alyssium mexicanum.
Does it have any scent whatsoever?
It does.
Okay.
It smells like 2-day-old dish rags when it warms up. So be glad you can't smell it this morning.
Yeah, I can't smell much right now. This
No.
one reminds me of like a little blueberry vaccinium.
It is. It
Yeah.
is one of our blueberries, one of our rabbit-eye blueberries.
I think our bumblebees would like that.
Yeah,
And is this kind of more a bog area, or
it
meant
is.
to be
This
a
is
bog
sort
area?
of a natural bog.
Yep.
And so we cleaned it out. This was full of debris and replanted many of the things that would be native. One of my favorite of the aroids, also first cousin of Jack and the Pulpits, is the golden club.
Yeah, look at these.
That's just such a cool plant.
So neat.
Yeah.
Look at that coming right up there. Almost looks like a stinkhorn, you know what I mean?
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Now, how did you construct this bog? Do you have like underground water? Do you have to, is it
This is natural springs.
natural springs?
So
Okay.
what we did, we dug a hole right here, put a pump in, and then all of the storm drains from this 2 acres, and every time we water a greenhouse up here, all that goes in there, and then we pump to the top, and then we dug this stream, and we just recirculate it.
Wow.
So it's all about creating habitat, and that's what we try to teach people is even in a small part of your garden, you can create a sustainable habitat.
Yeah, exactly. It's nice that you like started with your 2 acres. I mean, it didn't start in 28 acres. Like you said,
Right.
you started to
Oh.
scare away your neighbors. They
Yeah.
started to move out.
Yeah, yeah.
Negotiated some land. And you just start in one little section and you just kind of go from there.
Exactly.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, people get overwhelmed if they think about doing the whole thing at once.
Yeah.
And you just start small and move out one bed at a time. The Blatilla orchids are just beginning to flower.
Yeah, those are pretty. I saw some of them, I think, in the greenhouse.
Yes, they're just lovely. And the native royal fern, one of my absolute favorites. I mean,
Osmundo regalis, right?
Yes. How do you beat that?
It's just phenomenal. So this is another native fern, and it'll just sonder, and I'll just kind of.
Yeah, it takes sun, takes shade, takes wet, takes average soils. It's just, I mean, what an incredible plant. And the fronds top is where all the spores are. So those are all spores. They will be releasing here in the next couple weeks.
And you could eat the fiddleheads off of this too, right?
You can if you know how to prepare them. Fern fiddleheads are good, but if you don't prepare them right, they're very toxic.
Okay, yeah. You
So-
need to like saute them up pretty good. And
Yeah,
stuff.
you got to really know what you're doing when you cook things, because like with everything, you cook it wrong, it kills you. You cook it right, it's the delicacy.
Well, it's kind of like our like pokeweed. You know what I mean? Like the poke salad. Is a popular, I think, Southern dish actually.
It is absolutely a Southern dish, one of our staples down here.
Yeah, exactly. But you really need to cook that sucker. You know.
You
'cause
do.
that is
You
a
got to get it.
toxic
Got to
soup.
get it right. Got to get it right.
So did this tree fall this way or grow this way? Because it looks
This-
very Japanese garden-esque.
This tree had a rough life back in the 1950s,
Okay.
and we've kept it for this long. We had tree people look at it back in the 80s, and they said it'll be dead in a year.
Yeah.
And it's finally starting to go out. But what an incredible, I mean, we preserved this and built the garden around this, because you can't create this. Look at this. It's like a giant dragon as it goes up and down.
Unbelievable. It's like a serpent.
So we have really 38 years of joy it's given us.
Mahonia too then.
That's another Mahonia.
Look at
Yep.
look at the color on that.
Absolutely that. Yeah, the
And
colors are amazing.
Mahonia are also very medicinal as well, because it's like they have that berberine in the roots, the yellow roots. If you ever tried digging out like that, or a barberry or whatever.
Anything which is mayapples are in the same family.
Ah, fascinating.
So they have the same medicinal qualities. Yeah, the berberine, very, very medicinal uses. Behind us, we talked about taxus. That is a yew. That's what happens instead of trimming it. You let it grow. Yews actually have incredible bark.
Yeah, I have seen one woman, I went on a garden tour, and it was the one thing that she had still planted in, never got deer browsed, and it was, I want to say it was, you couldn't even fit your arms around it.
Aren't they amazing?
Yeah.
I wish more people would just lay the head shears down, back away, and let the plants grow and thrive.
I mean, look at your choice of trilliums. And whenever I go on your website, I'm like, oh my God, what trillium do I want this time?
Yeah. We have right at 2,000 trillium taxa, so it's
unreal.
We've got a little obsessed with trilliums, to say the least.
Now this looks like a funky fern.
It is. This is a holly fern, and these are sometimes used as house plants. The genus is Sertomium. But isn't that amazing?
Is this the normal color of it, or is this?
It is. As it comes out, it will darken.
Color,
Yeah, it will darken as the old foliage comes. But
here are some of your hostas. Now you said these are already coming out a little too early.
Yeah, we would prefer hostas wait till about mid-April, but you know when they're ready to come, you just stand back and watch.
So they could get. Like if you get another frost or something, they would be sensitive then.
They would. Yeah. We will cover if it gets down much below freezing. We will come out with a frost blankets and cover anything that had the poor sense to come up early.
Got it.
Which we hope won't happen this year, but it does happen a lot.
It does. It did happen to us too. Like a lot of things got frosted at the end of May.
Yeah. It's just part of gardening.
This is all hosta?
These are our hosta breeding, so which we wrapped up our breeding program now, so we're eventually getting all this out. But for 30 plus years, we would make crosses. So these, each one represent a seedling from a cross, which may be 4 or 5 crosses it took to get to that point.
Right, I was going to say, how many generations that you do before you start offering it?
Usually a lot. Hostas have been bred so much that the bar is pretty high. So you can't just make one cross and come up with something that's worthy anymore. You've got to really do what we call line breeding for many years.
Okay.
So it's a long-term process. A lot of what we did early on was we were breeding for dwarf hostas that had good vigor. Because what we had found was dwarf hostas were dwarf because they didn't grow worth a crap. So we flew to Korea because the world's smallest hosta is there on an island. So we went out, got some samples of that, brought them back, and we self-pollinated them. And every year we would select the smallest, but the most vigorous. And then we began breeding that to commercial varieties. And we were able to come up with these super dwarfs. That's as tall as that'll ever get.
Wow, first of all, it's a really yellow leaf, like kind of the chartreuse leaf. It almost looks like a ground cover, like a very short ground cover.
Exactly. So for people who have little miniature gardens or smaller places,
fairy gardens,
miniature railroad gardens. So that was what this project was, and we've introduced several out of that.
I mean, and this is heavily wood chipped. I see here.
Yeah, it helps keep those pesky weeds at bay.
Yeah. So is the university at all involved now with their students on maintaining this garden?
No.
Not at all. So you're still at the helm with your team.
We have to keep it going 100%. We have to continue to be able to make enough money to pay the staff.
You gotta live forever, man. You gotta live forever.
You know, we're not promised tomorrow. We're not promised an hour from now. We embrace every minute we have, and that's what you can do. So this is one of my favorite trees.
Is that a lauropetalum?
Yes, that's what lauropetalums. That's what lauropetalums do.
That's what it looks like when it's
when you
large?
When you don't clip it.
Oh
yeah, they're 30-foot trees.
I thought like a lauropetalum was just a shrub.
No, they're not. That's what we try to teach people. And that's why when people come for open house, we show them and they're like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I planted that right by my front door.
That's bigger than our witch hazels,
yes.
you know?
Oh, it's definitely bigger than
Yeah.
a witch hazel, its cousin.
Wow, and it has beautiful bark.
Oh, they're incredible. Isn't that gorgeous? Yeah.
They may not be hardy enough to our zone.
No, they would
unfortunately.
not be.
No.
No, you're a little too far.
Yeah.
Now, if climate change continues, a few more years, you'll be able to have those.
Just wait 10 years.
That's right, absolutely.
The thing is, we still get swings.
Yeah.
You know, it's warming, but we get the swings, and when you get down to -10 or -20 and you get that swing, then it doesn't survive. You know,
Yeah.
it might survive for a few years. Like, we had that massive frost at the end of May, and like one of our beautiful Acer palmatums, I think, kicked the can on that one because the buds just all died, and we're like, oh man.
We had one of those frosts about a decade ago. We lost
Yeah.
several full-size Jap maples because
Yeah.
once they come out, they lose all their winter hardiness because
That's-
they're ready to grow.
That's right.
And,
That's what I think happened.
yeah.
Look
so
at
this
these
is some of the,
agaves.
yeah, this is some of the
Holy moly.
bigger ones. This is
would
green
you-
goblet. Yeah.
Would you cut off the flower so that it doesn't die, or would you
You
let
can't do it.
You can't.
That-
You can't
that-
do it.
Then once it switches modes into flower mode,
Yeah.
too late.
Really?
Because that will, you will come out one day, there will be no flower. The next day you come out is 5 foot tall.
Yeah.
I mean, that happens overnight.
You got it in there, and you wouldn't want to walk in there to get the drill. This is
No,
a little too big.
No, well, this one fortunately offsets, so
Yeah.
so it's good. But
Yeah.
but this is why we would do our crosses. We had to buy a ladder that would reach 25 foot above that.
Yeah.
And we have to hire people that are crazy enough to climb the ladder because you're up there in the air above this.
Yeah, you're gonna get speared.
Oh man, no! If you fall off, you're pretty much ruined.
Oh my goodness. And then, is this an Artemisia?
It is. This is Artemisia frigida, which is
Oh,
a
yes.
Great
This-
Basin species. Typically won't survive our summers, but this is a collection from Eagle Rock, Texas, the southernmost population, and it thrives here. We're so much focused on genetics to find things that are different, same species, but
Yeah.
different genes from what's commercial.
So I have some of this growing around our stone area, and it seems to. We're in 5-6.
Yeah.
It's hardy to our zone.
Oh
so,
yeah, not a hardy issue with that.
Yeah.
It's a summer issue.
That kind of.
So it's the
Yeah.
opposite hardiness. And we've been doing a lot of work with Daphnes because we were told they wouldn't grow here. These are the alpine Daphnes.
Well, Daphnes are, temperamental, but if you could get it to grow here, that's amazing. This is kind of a little bit more like a rock garden, like a.
Yes, these are dryland
Yeah.
gardens. When I saw them growing in Crete, growing in pure rocks, full sun, they get 10 inches of rain a year.
Yeah.
I was like, hell, we can grow that. I've just been taking too good a care of it. And so we try to create a lot of microclimates, and we're able to grow things that you normally would think can't be grown, because some of these just need to be super dry, super well drained.
Right. So you're basically lifting them up. You're putting. I mean, this looks like 10 feet of gravel and sand right here.
Yep. It's mixed. Now see, but this is, look at this, look under here.
Yeah.
Those are lithops.
Oh, lithops! No way.
Because everybody said, everything
if
you
we
read online says they can't take frost. Well, these went through 11 degrees last year, didn't even blink.
My God.
And it's all, what we found is they just can't be wet in the winter.
Right.
But they are one of the easiest plants we've ever grown, despite everything you read that talks about how hard they are.
And they are some meaty lithops right there.
Those are serious, yes.
Yeah. Those look
are-
like pig noses.
Those are growing like crazy. So we put 7 other species. They're tucked in all the crevices
Yeah.
all around here.
Well, you can't blame a man for trying on that,
No,
and then
no,
you
you-
learn that way.
You do. So most of the garden is irrigated. These sections are not. So these are truly super duper drought tolerant.
Right, they're out on their own.
They have to survive in just pretty bad conditions.
Yeah.
And a lot of that stuff's just starting to wake up now. Several years ago, we bought the property next door. When we gave this to NC State, we built a retirement house. And trying to keep into the recycling thing, we gave away the house and barn on Craigslist. The only thing we couldn't give away was the parking pad, the house foundation, and the driveway. So we chopped it up and we made a rock garden called a crevice garden out of it.
Right, exactly. So you basically took the concrete or the whatever it was and you started to break it up with the jackhammer.
Yep.
And then you turned it into a garden.
Yep, so all of this, and it goes 300 foot down. It's nothing but recycled concrete.
So your crevice rocks are concrete.
We call them urbanite.
Yeah, that is so good. That was like when my friend used to be, or she might still be a jewelry designer, but she took out the paint from the Ford Motor Company, and when they sprayed the paint over and over and over again, it started to look like these colorful stones, and she called it Fordite.
I love it. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's really been a great thing for us to be able to show people. Here is a classic example of recycling, because it's the number one thing in American landfills is concrete.
It's a phenomenal reuse of concrete.
So we really wanted to show, and the stumps are all recycled. That's 5 stumps one of our staff found up on the property and made it look like it appeared that a tree grew here.
Yeah.
But yeah, we want people to look at this, and while they know it's concrete, they forget it's concrete because we've tried to use concrete artistic.
And honestly, if you did allow some of these plants to go at it, they would probably start to cover a lot of the concrete.
And they are.
Is this a carex?
It is.
Yeah, a little sedge.
Yep.
It's cute.
Yeah. So
and you have just like this little wet area where
we
it's
put
growing.
in several seeps in here because we wanted a habitat for alkaline seep plants, which we didn't have. So a lot of this stuff will be filling in as it comes up in spring.
Yeah, we're here a little early. This looks like a brassicaceae,
this is
broccoli.
Sea kale.
Sea kale.
Now this is a.
Oh, you could grow this. This is like some people actually grow this for food.
Oh, absolutely. I eat it all the time out of the garden. It's great. It's a perennial kale. So once you plant it, you never have to replant it.
I think I actually planted some of this in our area because I was into like, let's just do the perennial vegetables to start, so we don't have to plant them year over year.
Absolutely, that's fantastic, and we don't see cabbage loopers bother it. It's just a great little plant.
Nice.
This is the one we grow for cat lovers. This is Tucurium marum. It's a type of germander, but we call it kitty crack.
Oh, so kitties really like this, like catnip.
This is 10 times more powerful.
Really?
This is fentanyl for cats. Except it doesn't kill them, but it will absolutely drive them nuts.
I guess it could kind of smell a little bit like a maybe a cat pee a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe.
We tell people to have cats, rub it on your clothes, and when you get home, your cat will do all the stupid cat tricks you've never seen.
You just don't do it where there's mountain lions,
No, that probably would not be good. So,
Jesus Christ, that bobcat just came out of nowhere.
This is our example of we're trying to breed the tallest, the biggest, hardiest agave. So we took our 2 biggest when they flowered and we crossed them together. Wow. So this is a 7-year-old seedling.
This is behemoth.
Yeah, so if this waits, this thing could get enormous before it flowers.
This is unreal.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to be able to grow because typically the bigger they are, the less hardy they are.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to see what we could do. And
I got sea kale in my teeth. I just won't smile too large. This is also some arums right here, right?
This is calla lily.
Calla lily, yeah.
Yeah, which are completely hardy for us, down to 0.
Nice variegation.
They are, and you see we tuck cyclamen through all the cracks.
Yeah, I love your cyclamen. I got a few. That was actually one of the few things that I actually got the last season, I think. I put some in.
They're just so good. They
and
really are.
Corydalus that is blue. That is beautiful.
Now, those typically do not survive for us, and I've killed hundreds. And the only place we've got it survive is right here in the alkaline seep. So that's why habitat creation allows us to do these things that we've killed many times prior.
So is concrete alkaline?
Concrete is very alkaline.
Okay, so
yes.
that's really good to know.
Yeah, because our native soil pH here on the property is 3.2.
Wow,
Yes.
you are
Yes.
acidic.
Beyond acidic.
That's like, wait, that would kill most plants.
Yes, that's like hydrochloric acid.
Yeah, how would you even grow anything? How do you even grow anything?
That's what the native soil is.
That's
The plants are
crazy.
tolerant. So the pH in here is 8.2. So it's 10,000 times is alkaline.
Yeah, because it's logarithmic
Yeah.
at the end of the
So,
day.
so we have raised the garden pH now to
Yeah.
6.2, but when we started, I actually got a second test because I thought the test must be wrong.
Right.
That was pretty, the little evening primroses
Oh, yeah,
are
look at
starting to
that.
open up today. And this is one of many, smell that, hardy oreganos.
Ooh, that is just divine right there.
Pretty cool, makes you hungry, doesn't
Oh,
it?
it does.
And see, here we had overhangs like the lithops. We're able to grow dudleas from California,
No, that's crazy.
cotyledons from South Africa,
Yeah.
all because they don't get rain.
And what is this guy right here?
This is an acantholyman. This is a fascinating little plant from the stands, Iran, Middle East. It has
a
no
pincushion
chance
plant.
to grow here, absolutely none. But the crevice allows us to grow those plants that we could not otherwise grow.
It kind of reminds me of one of those like really tight bromeliads that we had
Very
seen.
like an Abramistiella.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a hardy bromeliad.
Oh my goodness! Look at that.
That's a dicea. Beautiful.
This is a dicea.
That's a dicea, believe
Wow,
it or not.
It looks like a windswept, mussy hairdo.
It looks dead, yes.
Yeah.
That is beautiful, bright yellow, screaming yellow
Yeah.
flowers.
I love this right next to the Selaginella
Yeah.
right here too. Oh, that's like, look at all the spores or something coming
Yeah.
off of there.
Yeah, and this is one that when it rains, it flushes out. When
Yeah.
it doesn't, it carves up like the
just
old
curls up,
resurrection
yeah.
plants. Yeah, we
Are
got
these like the baby breaths that are repens, like prostrate?
this is a little crucifer called Ethonema. It's an early successionary plant over in the Middle East.
Huh.
It's really fascinating. It just comes up and flowers so early in the year. It just provides that wonderful drift of color early. Yeah, the baby's breath is just getting ready to start.
Yeah, okay, there you go.
Yeah, it's sort of mixed in together.
What is that one coming up right there?
Oh, that is a Scodoxus. That is a called blood lily of South Africa.
Wow.
We found that almost all the Scodoxus we've tried have been winter hardy, which is pretty crazy. So
Yeah.
that'll be opening up the flowers really crazy.
And this is Antinaria, right?
This is one of our native Antinarias, pussy toes.
Pussy toes, and I had ours mown down by our native painted ladies.
Oh,
Because it's
wow. One of their preferred foods.
preferred foods, and I got
Love
the
that.
Antinaria rubra.
Okay.
I don't know if rubra is around here, but it's a pink flowered
We
one.
have rubra in the front.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and that
much
was-
smaller plant.
Not a native plant, obviously, but it was the one that the painted lady was able to fulfill its life cycle on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so
yeah.
I never saw it flower, is what I'm saying.
That
I should
will
have
happen.
more of it, is what I'm
That
saying.
will happen, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And then here's some euphorbia over
Euphorbias,
here.
which are great
Yeah.
and require really good drainage, and we just let them seed around where they want to. And this is some more of the native mayapple in flower here. You can see
Yeah. And then it has to have the 2 leaves in order to be able to get the fruit, correct?
Yes, correct. Once it flowers, it can get fruit.
Yeah. So then that is also edible, but I think you have
to be very careful.
prepare, yeah.
Yes.
And is this a heucherella or
This
heuchera?
is a heucherella.
I like the heucherellas as well. I think they're
Yeah,
really
yeah,
nice
both are
generic
great.
cross.
And look at this little fern. That's a table fern, which is
Wow.
normally a house plant, but this is a hardy form. A friend collected the spores in China. But isn't that amazing? It doesn't even look like a fern.
Yeah, Pteris critica,
Yeah.
variation critica pingwu. Look at how it grows up these little guys.
Yep, that's the new leaves coming up. I just think
delicate they
that
are.
is just so beautiful.
They are, and it gives it a nice pop of like lemony green color. And
Mm-hmm.
I like how some of our shadier plants have that lemony green color and kind of just brings a little color to the shade.
It does. Look at the flowers on that wild ginger.
Wow, those are big.
Yes, this is the biggest of all the wild gingers.
See that?
This is a Serum nobilissimum.
And it looks a little bit like meat,
Yes.
as you see with all these gingers.
Yeah.
And then this one is funky. This kind of reminds me of like a Pachysandra, but like within that Amorphophallus. There's one Amorphophallus with that dark green leaf.
It
with
does.
pink.
It has that pattern.
Yeah.
This is an impatiens, a hardy impatiens.
Oh, so it's like
That's
our
what's-
jewelweed, you know.
Exactly,
Yeah.
except that would be an annual. This is a perennial.
Yeah. How about this one with these little like cigar shaped?
This is a Solomon seal.
This reminds me of like a Gasteria bloom.
The color
Doesn't it?
does, isn't
Yeah.
it? But this is really neat. So these are what we call the cirifoliate Solomon seals. See, it has these little curves, and those are designed because in the forest, it grows and it likes to climb up trees to get
I
sun.
see. Okay.
So it just shoots up and it grabs the limb
So
and
it's
keeps going up.
almost like a vine, but just kind of is.
Sort of.
Yeah.
It's a vine wannabe.
It kind of reminds me of some of those vining cucumbers that like could kind of stand on its own, but then
Yes.
it like leans on the tree and then
Exactly. It's like
Yeah.
a good drunk, just
Yeah.
looking for somebody to lean on.
it's a highly functioning drunk.
Very high functioning. Oh my goodness.
Now what do we have in bloom here? Rhododendron?
This is one of our native rhododendrons.
It's is it periclinum?
This
Or no?
is no, this is canescens.
Canescens, okay.
This is one from Alabama, but just
It's nice.
wonderful fragrance. Just it's probably not. It's just starting this morning. Once
I
it
s- I
warms a
smell a
little
little
bit,
bit. I
it
smell a
just
little.
will perfume the whole area. It's really quite extraordinary.
I like how the flowers are like kind of like a cercis, like the flowers are coming out before the leaves. So there's like this kind of stark contrast of this like wispy stems and with flowers on top. Oh, and this is our native mertensia.
It is. It is. This is a pink flowered one. When it comes out first, it is solid pink, and then it ages to blue. Yeah, we love mertensias.
Yeah.
Hard to grow them in a container. That's a difficult one for us to.
Well, I say these are ones that I every year I get a little more because they are expensive plants. You know, it's really hard to find them at a good price that
Yeah,
are.
yep.
Yeah, it's not like buying like the Dutch bulbs, you know what I mean, where you could get like 100 or 1,000 of them. These are more prime, but I love them.
They are. They just don't propagate as well. I think people don't understand that sometimes the cost is all about propagation, is how do they produce in a container, and that's just one that doesn't lend itself well. It's great in the garden, but not in terms of production.
Look, this is these are pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, this is actually one of our introductions. This is a native, a mayapple cross of two Chinese species. We called it standing tall because it's 4 feet in height.
Yeah, unbelievable.
And it's the
huh?
tallest of all the mayapples.
And so were the other ones that you had hybridized it with also very tall, or did this just become?
One of them was fairly tall, not
Yeah.
nearly this tall. The other one was actually shorter. But by doing a mid-tall and a shorter one, we got a super tall one.
No, I had a tour, and there was a person who had a lot of podophyllums, and they were talking about like a disease that affects podophyllums. Is that something
There
that
is,
you-
on the native ones, they have a rust disease.
Okay.
That the back of the leaf is this orange fungus. And yes, and I would tell most people if you're not prepared to deal with that, don't grow the native ones.
Yeah.
Because the Asian ones don't get it
Oh,
until you grow them near a native one.
Ah, I
and
see.
then they will get it.
Okay.
So a lot of the collectors of Asian ones just eschew the native ones because they have that problem.
I see. That's
Now,
good
of course,
tips.
we know that if you listen to the conventional wisdom, native plants are better adapted, they don't get diseases, blah, blah, blah. Well, quite the opposite.
Now, do they you hybridize them here, so can they readily hybridize with our native ones?
Not readily,
Okay.
because what's happened, the taxonomists have now said, some of the taxonomists, that our native one is the genus Podophyllum. The Asian ones, they moved into a different genus called Dysosma.
Ah.
So we have actually crossed the two.
Yeah.
This only happened once in recorded history before ours. And so now those, if you believe that group, become a bigeneric hybrid.
Right.
So it's not supposed to work.
Okay.
It's just, anytime you get into bigenerics, that really upsets the taxonomists because that just ain't supposed to happen. One of our most probably famous introductions is this plant up here. This is a Florida anise with gold foliage that we named Florida Sunshine. This is normally green, and this was a gold seedling we found at a wholesale nursery down in Florida who grew them by the 100,000s for revegetation, and he was going to throw out these 3 gold ones, and I grabbed them.
Wow.
But this is now for sale at the box stores. Smell the leaves.
Oh, that is nice.
Pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not bad for a native plant.
That's very. So can you cook with that? Or no?
I'm not a cooker, so I better not say.
Yeah. It's like the eugenol or whatever that scent. Yeah, that is really good.
Definitely anise.
Yeah, anise and eugenol.
It's a wonderful thing. Tell me when
this is gonna make me pee.
Yeah, we can take care of that. We got place inside. This was our larger grotto we built. So this is 172 bags of concrete.
Wow, 172
and a lot of steel.
bags. I like that you know that. Jeez.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to create habitat and make it look like something neat. And this allowed us to grow plants and display them where you could see them from a different vantage point.
Yeah, I mean, so you're building up all this soil. Was this like relatively flat before?
This was all flat. This is tobacco.
Flat. Oh, wow.
So down below where we have the greenhouses, where the crevice was, we had to take out 600 dump truck loads of soil to flatten that out.
Yeah.
So we just had them build berms all around the house. And here we had the bulldozer, told him to pile it as high as he could without turning the dozer over. And then I came out once it settled and carved the pathways, and we created sort of a switchback garden.
Yeah, and I like that you're just like creating so much more surface area in
sure.
the space by just...
I mean, I did not do well in geometry, but I did learn A squared, B squared, and C squared. You get more room when you garden upwards than you do flat. So this side we just rocked, and it created all these little micro habitats. But you can see plants at a human scale eye level.
Yeah.
Which is really neat. Everything was planted this tall.
Okay.
So those were planted very tiny, 1 gallon pots.
So 30, 40 years, you'd imagine?
This section here we bought in 96. So these would have been planted probably around 99, so 25 years.
Okay, well that gives us some hope.
Yeah, plants, if you take care of them, aren't as slow as you would think.
Yeah.
But it just, again, I think it allows so much more diversity when you can use rocks and create these habitats.
Yeah, this gives us a lot of inspiration. You know, we've been putting in a lot of gardens, and like you said, you just start with little bits at a time, and we have like a vision of like making it feel more fluid, and this is a real nice thing to look towards. Yeah,
we really want the garden to serve as inspiration for people. I could do this. I could take this idea and adapt it to my habitat.
Yeah.
And the neat thing is when you get up here, you realize the height difference is really quite extraordinary, although it didn't feel like it when we were walking up here.
No, we're like in the nosebleed seats.
Yes,
right now.
absolutely
and
are.
is this like a little sedum-esque
It is.
kind of thing? Oh, look at that.
Yeah, that's a plant I brought back from, we had lunch down on the, at the base of Mount Aconcagua on the Chilean-Argentinian border.
Yeah.
We came out of the little restaurant, and this was planted. This is a Mexican sedum. How it managed to get its way down into Argentina was fascinating, and we're able to bring back cuttings, and it turned into this incredible garden plant.
That's great.
So it has a great story as well for us.
Now, if you missed the Plant Delights Nursery tour with Tony, then head over to our sister channel, Plant One On Me. And be sure to subscribe and hit the notifications button to both channels because we often do cross-pollination with videos. That way, you'll know when new ones arrive. Thank you again for your support, and we'll see you in the next video.